Welcome to Golden Black Live, Friday, September the 16th. Tom Dienhart and Brian Newbert join me for the opening segment. I want to thank Triple X on the hill, but on the level, the Purdue tradition since 1929 in Hilton, not Hilton Garden Inn. They have been a sponsor of ours, and we've always appreciated that. But I'll say State Farm agent Trent Johnson at trentismyagent.com. Trent will be working on a high school football game tonight. I'm not sure where. I know he's got a couple games in West Lafayette, or the Lafayette area, I should say, upcoming. But Trent, we appreciate both the Airsmans and the Johnsons, all that they do for us. Okay, guys, it is a big one for Purdue tomorrow at the JMA Wireless Dome. I've finally got that down, Tom, I think, by Friday. But Purdue's really a pick-em game now, as it seems like the line is consolidated, condensed some. But Tom, I know you've talked about it some this week, if not a lot, but what wisdom are you going to shed on us about what Purdue faces tomorrow?
Yeah, I think Syracuse may even be a slight favorite. Who knows? But like you said, a pick 'em basically, Alan. And yeah, the stakes are for an early season game. I'll say the stakes seem to be pretty high for both these teams, which both think they're going places, right? Syracuse 2-0, a lot of excitement. Have not had a winning season since 2018. We're very familiar with Purdue's aspirations this year, where they think they could maybe end up. This is a game over the summer we all thought, you know what, who's probably going to win this game, right? Well, it looks like it may end up being a lot more difficult game than we all expected. So I expect a lot of points, fellas. You know, Brian wrote in his weekly word about Charlie Jones, and you know, at some point, defenses, obviously, they get film. They're going to scheme. They're going to plan. And Charlie Jones is going to be neutralized, or at least limited. And what's next? Who is going to be, I guess, the plan B? How's this offense going to continue to evolve when defenses continue to get better and better, guys? We're getting deeper into the schedule here with better teams and better defenses. That's what's going to be fun to see starting this weekend, I think, right? This 3-3-5 Syracuse defense is very unique. They've got two good cornerbacks. You know what? I'm sure they're going to have a great plan for Charlie Jones. And it's going to be interesting to see how Purdue responds.
You know, Brian, Jalen Graham, that's an injury that's going to be a challenge for Purdue and Purdue's ability to stop Syracuse, who's shown, at least in games 1 and 2. I know they haven't played the I was going to say the 85 Bears, but I'll say the 69 Jets instead. But in terms of talent, but this is going to be a tough game in terms of how Purdue has got to be able to deal with that adversity and be able to slow down Syracuse.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to have any answer for Don Maynard.
There you
go. Little old Jets reference for you. Back when they were in Shea Stadium.
There you go.
Over everyone's head.
Yeah, love that.
He's waiting for
How does the youngest person in the room be the only one who has ever heard of Don Maynard? He was
I know.
Joe Namath's go-to guy.
Oh no, I know Don Maynard, number 13. I know Don Maynard. He used to do a commercial before you were born. After he and somebody else from the Jets team did it after they won the Super Bowl. But anyway, go ahead, fire away.
What was your question?
My question was, how do you adjust to not having Jalen Graham and slowing down a Syracuse offense that's got some skill?
Yeah, I think the concern for me from a defensive perspective for Purdue is if this Schrader kid is legitimately a dual threat type of guy. Mm-hmm. You know, I think Purdue's always been okay defensively when they've been able to make somebody one-dimensional. Maybe I still have that Boston College game from a few years ago top of mind for some reason. Yeah. But when an opponent can only do one thing, run or pass, Purdue's generally pretty good about making them have to do the opposite. If this guy can legitimately do both, you know, and if you're going to be in a position here where you have to try to manufacture schematically some more pass rush, and he can get out of there and make some plays, you know, I think that's the sort of element that, you know, Purdue might have a hard time with, especially without Jalen Graham's experience out there, without his athleticism out there. I mean, this is a guy who makes spaces smaller because he's so athletic and so long and so tall. Chris Jefferson, having him on the field, he seems like he's done a good job through the first couple of games. but they're just going to have to do a good job all through the back half of that defense. So that means the linebackers, that means the safeties, that means the nickel, that means the corners, everybody. But also, Purdue's defensive front's going to have to do a good job keeping that guy in a box. Too, they're going to have to do a good job in containment, kind of things like that, and they're just going to have to make him whichever of the two he's least comfortable doing. And I can't claim to be as much of an expert on Garrett Schrader as maybe I should be before I go on live television and talk about him. Live internet television, that is. But this is sort of one of those guys who can be a real pain in the neck for a defense.
Yeah, you look at also Purdue's discipline on defense, Tom. I think last year certainly we saw more of that, but in the RPO game, if that's truly what Syracuse is going to focus on, Purdue's got. I mean, obviously, Syracuse also has got a really, really good running back as well that's going to cause some problems. But Schrader's run for 118 yards in this first couple of games. So is that the key? Purdue's being able to keep an eye on Schrader and still slow down the run game as well?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think Brian summarized it pretty well. This is a team that wants to get physical on offense. They want to punch you in the nose. They have a huge offensive line. 4 starters are over 300 pounds. I think their right guard weighs 375. So again, no secret what they want to try to do. Sort of built like Minnesota, if you will, if you're looking for a Big Ten comp. And yeah, we'll see about Garrett Schrader. I think Brian makes a good point. How good is Garrett Schrader really? He started his career at Mississippi State. He's a big guy, about 6'4", 228. They have a new offensive coordinator and a new quarterback coach at Syracuse. They got up from Virginia after Bronco Mendenhall retired. So he's done a good job, they say, developing Schrader as a passer, fellas. I think he's hitting about 80% of his passes so far. You know what? That's fine and dandy. I still want to take my chances with Garrett Schrader having to throw the ball to beat me. I cannot let that star running back, Sean Tucker, go wild on me. I just can't. And again, you got to keep your eye on Schrader running it too, but you can't let Tucker get amped up. Dino Babers had a lot of good things to say about his star back this week. Says he's very, very fast, comparing him to Trun Candidate, the guy who he worked with at Arizona, who was a first-round pick of the Rams many years ago. So he's a guy that can get after you. So he can also catch the ball too, fellas. He leads them in catches with 10. Yeah. So he's going to be a real problem. And again, discipline on defense and, trusting your eyes, as coaches like to say. And Mark Hagan was talking about it this week too. You got to tackle. And they were pleased with how the defense progressed from week 1 to week 2. This is obviously a far greater challenge than last Saturday. Again, I think you got to commit to trying to not let this team make it 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 4. You got to win first downs. You got to get Garrett Schrader in passing situations, because I still would take my chances and want to gamble on that guy trying to throw the ball 40 times to beat me.
Yeah. Brian,
all-time great football name, Trun Candidate.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a great name. You look at how Purdue performed in week 2, and obviously a 56-0 game, but the optics were good just because Purdue limited its penalties, which it had a huge problem with that against Penn State. It was kind of a surgical type game from that standpoint. You go into a dome and a loud crowd. I don't know that it's sold out, but they're going to have a big crowd there. Just that need of the attention to detail that Purdue's had some success on the road under Jeff Brom of late. All those are key factors, one would think, Brian, as you head into the game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I can't claim to have ever played a college football game in a dome. But coaches always say the vision is different, the noise level's different, things like that. I think this is probably a good time to have a 6-year quarterback and a 6-year wide receiver. I mean, these guys have been through a lot of stuff. Yeah. I don't know if either of them ever played in a dome, but just kind of have to deal with it. Just kind of have to. You've played in bad weather. You've played at night. You've played during the day. You've played, late morning. I mean, you've been through a lot of experiences here, and I don't see why playing on turf should be an issue, but I don't know what
Yeah.
sort of complications playing indoors should present. One would think that those complications wouldn't, be a 60-minute issue. You would hope that, a competent college football team would go in, and if they have issues, resolve those issues fairly quickly. I think it's an easy thing for us to talk about. I don't know how rowdy the crowds are at Syracuse either. I mean, if you put Madison in a dome, that would be, that's why the Saints have always been so good at home, because the Superdome is not only a dome, but everybody in there is liquored up, and, they kind of live for the Saints, and it's pretty wild in there. I don't know if this is the same sort of deal. I have no idea. I've never been to a game at Syracuse. But you know what I have covered? I have covered basketball games in football stadiums and in the NCAA tournament. And there is something really different about the backgrounds and seeing the basket, things like that. Shooting depth. I know basketball and football are fundamentally different sports. I don't see it being as big a deal in football as I would in basketball. So long story short, I don't know. I'm sure it'll be a little bit different, but is it game-changing different? I guess we'll find out Saturday.
Yeah, Tom, I know you wrote some things about Purdue. Of course, this is going to say Purdue's. Well, Tom, you got something? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, again, just on some of Brian's points. Talked to a lot of people up at Syracuse this week. They're expecting close to a full house. Seats are up, just under 50,000 people. There's a lot of excitement, as you would well imagine. So could get loud. Jeff Brom talked this week a little bit about what Brian was talking about, vision, how it can be a little different. And again, that's something they've discussed. And thirdly, we go over to talk to players after practice or around near the end, and they've been working indoors. At least they were on Tuesday and Wednesday, because obviously they're going to play indoors, and they've had the music cranked up awfully loud. So they're doing all they can, as you would expect, to try to replicate maybe what they're going to encounter Saturday. I was told by some media members up there too that it was very loud for that Louisville game. So again, Purdue's doing all it can to try to simulate what they're going to encounter. But as you guys know, you can do all the simulation you want on a lot of things in life. Till you actually get your feet planted there, you really don't know how you're going to react. But again, Brian talked about the veteran nature of the signal caller has got to be a big edge for Purdue. Just overall, guys, it was something I even asked Jeff Brom about on Monday. If you thought, I think this is a veteran Purdue team, right? And this is the kind of team you think could
much more than you think
on the road. Yeah. So again, they're taking a team that's been around the block, has a lot of upperclassmen. So there may be an adjustment period, but you'd like to think because of the number of upperclassmen here that Purdue wouldn't be overwhelmed by what they're going to encounter.
All right. Predictions will be on the site here. They may be on right now, but we appreciate both of your expertise when it comes to Purdue and the Boilermakers heading into Syracuse. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Rafael Davis will be joining us. Mark Herman in segment 3. Mark Herman will be making his debut on the sidelines, at least as part of the Purdue Radio Network at the JMA Wireless Dome. I keep wanting to call it the Carrier Dome. Guys, thanks so much for your time. We will do more of this next week as Purdue will be preparing for the Florida Atlantic Owls. And guys, it never gets dull in this.
Oh, that's good.
Who? Yes, the Oh, wait. I got you. God, I'm slow. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll be back in 2 minutes. 2 minutes on Gold and Black Live.